Hello, hello, hello. Hello, beautiful and amazing people. How are you guys tonight? Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Wealthy Trustee webinar. So tonight I am going to be teaching you guys how to set up a trust, you guys. And a lot of you guys are probably not familiar with what trusts are, or you've probably heard the term trust. And so tonight I'm just going to give you a brief explanation of what a trust is and how to set it up and how you can utilize this in order to protect your assets as well as build wealth, you guys. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Christina Yvette. I am a trust strategist. So I have been a trustee for the last 9 years, you guys. And the way that I became a trustee was by way of real estate. So I was originally a registered nurse, and I was, nursing in the hospital for 8 years. And my first year into my career, I was burnt out. I was absolutely burnt out. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I was frustrated with spending 12 hours a day, 5 days a week in the hospital, where I was spending more time with my coworkers and my patients than I was at home with my 1-year-old baby. So I questioned myself and I said, there has to be another way for me to be able to make money so that I don't have to be forced to work overtime to just cover my rent for me and my son. So I was driving to work one day, and on the radio, I heard this guy say, do you want to learn how to flip houses? And immediately I thought to myself, absolutely, I do want to learn, about real estate. And so I signed up for a 3-day seminar, and I showed up all 3 days, and I learned so much about real estate to the point that I signed up for mentorship. And 6 months after I attended that seminar, I actually bought my first property. So I bought a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in Miami. And I bought this house for $89,000. And I end up selling it a couple months later for $235,000. And that was actually life-changing for me, because I finally realized that I didn't have to trade my time for money anymore, and that the money that I invested into that house could actually make money for me. But before I even sold this property, before I even bought this property, my mentor, which was actually my hard money lender, so he's the one who lent me the money for the house, he told me, you need to put that property into a trust. And at that time I was young. I was 25 years old and I didn't understand, because I never even heard of a trust. And so I'm like, why? Like, what is a trust and why do I need to put this property into a trust? And so he educated me on what a trust was and how important it was, because one, I was young, right? I was 25 years old. This was my first property, so I was inexperienced. And I didn't want to put myself in a position to where someone took advantage and end up taking the property. Another thing is that the house was being flipped. So it was going under renovation, which means that there's a lot of in and out construction, and anybody could have got injured on the property. If they would have gotten injured on the property, they could have sued me and taken the house away from me. And so with all of those things, I knew that I had to protect this first little house that I bought. And so I decided to set up a trust. And at that time, I became a trustee, and I put that property into a trust. And I, obviously ended up selling the property, but I started flipping houses. So I flipped dozens of properties, and I put all of them into trust. And so that is one way that you definitely want to go when it comes to protecting your assets. And so I've been operating ever since as a trustee, and that was in 2015. So what I want to do is I want to educate you guys tonight. So I'm going to bring up some slides. We're going to go through the actual presentation, and then after the presentation, I'll be able to answer any questions that you guys might have about trust, okay? So with that being said, let's get started, you guys. And let's see who we got in the house. So we got Andrea, Angelique, we have Arsha or Ashia, We have Barbara, we have Carmina or Carnita, we got Dwayne, Eugenio, France, Frederick, Giles, Howard, Joel, JW, we got Kenneth, Kevin, we got MD Will, Marlon, Mika, Michael, we have Nicole, Ramon, Roger, okay, Tyrone, Tariq. Okay, so thank you guys so much for being here. Okay, so we're gonna just dive right into the slides. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, then you can ask me those questions as soon as we are done. Okay, so let's dive in. All right, so what is an actual trust, right? So a trust is an entity, you guys. It is a living, breathing entity, just like how you are a living, breathing entity, okay? So anything that you as a natural person can do, the trust can also do. So if you can buy a house, a trust can buy a house. If you could buy a car, a trust can buy a car. If you could take out a credit card, a trust can take out a credit card. If you could write a book, a trust could write a book. So there's no real limitations to what a trust can do. And the way that this trust comes into existence is through a contract, okay? So you're going to set up a contract. It's going to be in black and white. And in that contract, there's several different parts to the contract. So you have two very important parts that I want to tell you guys about. The first one is the declaration, where you're declaring what it is and what it is not. So you are declaring that you are actually setting up a trust, and you're declaring, actually what it is. So you're declaring that you are creating this contract to set up a trust, and that you are not creating this contract to set up any type of partnerships, limited liability companies, corporations, or any of those other types of entities, okay? The next thing is the indenture, which is the actual agreement, or what we call the bylaws. That is where you're going to have all of the provisions of how you want this trust to be operated. This is what we call the rules and regulations of how you want, how you want the trust to be operated, for many years into the future, okay? So a trust has a setup date, and it has a day that is due to terminate based on the term. So if you are establishing the trust today, today's going to be your establishment date, all right? And then you're going to choose a term anywhere between 1 to 100 years of how long you want this trust to operate. So if you're setting it up today, November 6, 2024, and you want it to be 100 years into the future, when it's due to expire, then you just need to know that it's going to expire November 6, 2124, okay? So when it comes to what you actually want, which is to build generational wealth, a tool that's best to be used is a trust, because it's going to ensure that it actually lasts the many generations, okay? So let's keep moving on. So now we said that the trust is an actual contract. So who are the parties involved in the contract? Well, the first party that you have is the grantor. The grantor is the creator of the trust, right? Another term that you hear might be settlor or trustor, okay? But that's the person who creates the trust for the benefit of somebody else. That other person is the beneficiary, okay? And you can have many beneficiaries. Those are the inheritors of the trust, you guys, okay? So we'll talk about that in just a moment. The second party involved is the trustee. The trustee is the controller of the trust. So that's the individual who's going to be controlling the assets that are inside of the trust and operating it on a day-to-day basis, right? They're going to be making sure that the trust is ran the right way and that you're actually managing the assets that are inside of the trust, okay? The next one is the beneficiary. So that's the inheritor of the trust. Those are the individuals that are going to be receiving the assets that are inside of the trust once the trust is terminated. So if you don't want the trust to be terminated, right, and those assets to go to the beneficiaries, then what you're going to do is you're going to continue to operate the trust, which means that when it's due to expire, you're going to renew it for an additional 100 years. So that's the way that it works, okay? So now let's talk about the different types of trust. There's hundreds of different types of trust, you guys, okay? And what I want to do is I want to share a couple categories so that you can consider these types of categories that trusts fall under when you're doing your research, okay? So the first one that I want to tell you guys about is express versus implied. An express trust is a written trust, guys. So it's written in black and white on a contract, style, okay? So it's on paper, you physically sign, okay? So that is an express trust. And on the other hand, you have an implied trust, which is a verbal trust, okay? So that's a verbal agreement between the grantor and the trustee, okay? So that, I wouldn't recommend that anybody have a verbal trust because most likely it might not hold up in court versus an express trust where it's in a contract style and it will hold up in court, okay? The next category that I want to give you guys about is simple versus complex. A simple trust is shorter in nature, so it has less rules and regulations, or what we call provisions. And with the simple trust, the trustee is required to give distributions to the beneficiaries. On the contrary to that, you have a complex trust. With the complex trust, it's actually longer in nature, so it has more bylaws, right? More provisions, more rules, more regulations, right? And with that type of trust, the trustee is not required to give distributions to those beneficiaries, okay? So the next category that I want to tell you guys about is statutory versus non-statutory. So with a statutory trust, that means that every single state has its own laws, okay? And those state laws are called statutes and codes. So with a statutory trust, that means that that type of trust is set up in a particular state, and all of those state statutes and codes pertaining to trust are embedded inside of that trust contract. So because those state statutes and codes are embedded inside of the trust contract, you are limited to where you can only operate that specific trust in that state, okay? And that particular trust most likely is going to be registered in that particular state, which means that that trust is going to be a part of the public record. Anybody can research that trust and they'll be able to pull it up and see that it is, that it exists, right? All right, so now with that type of trust, it is very challenging because like I said, you can only use it in that one state. So if you have investment properties, let's just say in Florida, but you want to use it in Texas, you won't be able to, right? But on the contrary to that, what you have is a non-statutory trust. A non-statutory trust is where it's operating under the common law jurisdiction, so you can use it domestically in all 50 states as well as all of the U.S. territories. So because that's the particular case, it's actually, you get to maintain the privacy of that particular trust, okay? So it's not registered with the public records, okay? So that's not statutory, and you have more flexibility to be able to operate it wherever you need to operate it, okay? So now on the other, now the next category that I want to tell you guys about is discretionary versus non-discretionary. So with a discretionary trust, that means that the trustee has full discretion to be able to make decisions for the trust that are not laid out inside of the contract, okay? So that means that you're able to operate the trust however you want to operate it, even if whatever it is that you want to do. So let's just say you want to purchase crypto. If it's not inside of the, even though it's not inside of the contract, you can still make that type of investment. Versus non-discretionary means that you cannot make changes or you cannot make any type of decisions for the trust estate that are not embedded inside of the contract under the trustee powers, okay? So your powers are limited to whatever was written inside of that contract, okay? And the last category that I want to tell you guys about is revocable versus irrevocable. So with a revocable trust, that means that the grantor, right? So typically with a revocable trust, the grantor and the trustee are the same person, okay? So with that being said, the grantor has revocability to be able to make any changes to the trust that they need to make. They're able to take back property if they put assets in there. They're able to remove the trustees or beneficiaries, right? And if they wanted to terminate the trust, they can, okay? So with a revocable trust, it's actually seen as an alter ego. So it's kind of seen as you. And that means that creditors can come after that type of trust. They can come after an irrevocable trust and a revocable trust. So if they come after the revocable trust, and let's just say it ends up in litigation, the judge can decide to pierce through that revocable trust and force you to produce the trust in court. So if the judge decides to do that, then that means that you got to bring your whole entire trust to court, and it now becomes a part of the public records, which means that individuals are now able to see what's inside of the trust, what the net worth is, what assets you have in there, who the beneficiaries are, who the trustee is. So they're able to see everything pertaining to this particular trust. So with that particular trust, your assets are not fully protected, okay? Now, on the contrary to that, you have irrevocable. With an irrevocable trust, the grantor and the trustee are not the same person. So the grantor has no power and no control, and the trustee has all the power and the control. So with the grantor has what we call irrevocability, which means that they are not able to change the trust, terminate the trust, remove any trustees and beneficiaries. And if they were to put assets into the trust, they cannot take those assets out, okay? So because that is the case, if that type of trust was to end up in litigation, right, your assets are fully protected because that type of trust is seen as a separate entity from you, not an alter ego. So the creditors pertaining to the grantor and the trustee will not be able to come after that type of trust. And if it was to end up in litigation, the judge would decide not to pierce through that type of trust. So you get to remain, so your assets get to remain private. The trust gets to remain private and fully protected, okay? So with that being said, let's continue on to the next category, you guys. Hold on for me 1 second. All right, so how to actually create the trust, right? So now I gave you guys a list of different categories that every single trust falls under, right? So the type of trust that I recommend is a trust that is express, right, in nature, a trust that is complex in nature, a trust that is discretionary in nature, and a trust that is non-statutory and irrevocable, okay? So that is what we call a bulletproof trust. That is the type of trust that pretty much is impenetrable if somebody tries to come after you or your assets, okay? So now step one is that you want to determine what type of trust that you actually want to create. So I'm going to tell you to go ahead and do your research and your due diligence so that you can figure out the best type of trust for you, your business, or your family. Step two is that you need to determine the actual name of the trust, okay? So now that you've decided that you actually want to set up a trust, you want to actually name the trust. So two things that I want you to keep in mind, right? One is do not name the trust after yourself. Why? Because you want to maintain some type of security or privacy, okay? And so if your name is, you know, John Smith, you don't want to name the trust the John Smith Trust, okay? That is going to be a dead giveaway that you're associated with that trust, okay? So that's the first thing. You want to be able to use names that are not really directly connected to you or that are, you know, very unique, okay? So you can call it anything. You can call it Sunshine Empire, right? And so that's the name of your trust entity, your trust estate, okay? The second thing is that you don't have to have the word trust in the actual name, okay? So I don't recommend that either, because remember, we want to maintain privacy, and so we don't even want people to know that the entity that we're operating or the entity that actually owns our house or our car or our bank account is a trust, okay? All right, so now let's continue on. So now that you've determined a name for your trust, what you want to do is you want to appoint the different parties involved. So you want to appoint the grantor. So the grantor has to be at least 18 years and older. They have to be able to notarize the trust. If you are choosing an irrevocable trust, then you want to choose someone else to be the grantor for you, because the grantor has no power and no control, okay? So you can choose a sibling, a grandparent, a parent, a neighbor, a best friend, you know, a next of kin, someone who's able to notarize the trust. Then you're going to appoint the trustee. The trustee is going to be you. You are the person who's going to be operating your trust on a day-to-day basis. You are what we call the fiduciary, or the person who's going to be the authority that's going to be signing on behalf of the trust and making all the decisions for the trust. Next, you have your beneficiaries. Your beneficiaries can be entities. They also can be your children, okay? So typically you'll put your children and your grandchildren there as beneficiaries, and then they will be receiving, distributions, gifts. They can take out loans from the trust, things like that, okay? And then the last one is a successor. That's a successor trustee. So that is the person who's going to be taking over after you in the event that something happens to you. Meaning, in the event that you expire, you decide to resign, or you become incapacitated, then your successor is going to pick up where you left off, you guys, okay? And that's exactly what you want, to put yourself in that type of position, because what we're looking for is longevity. We are looking to build a legacy, and we want our legacy to last many, many, many generations, 5, 6, 7 generations. And so you want to be able to choose a successor who's going to continue your legacy and continue to operate that trust and maintain the assets inside of that trust, as well as grow the assets or the amount, of money, or invest what is inside of that trust, okay? All right, next is to create the actual trust agreement. So you guys, remember we said that the trust is a contract. You have to actually create this contract, right? And then once you create the contract, there are certain provisions that are very vitally important, right? So some of them that we call are spendthrift provisions, right? And so those spendthrift provisions are where you get to control the money from the grave. So you get to tell the beneficiaries what they can spend the money on and what they cannot spend the money on. So you can tell them, hey, you can spend the money on lifestyle, you can spend the money on education, on starting a business, but you cannot spend the money on, illicit drugs, on lavish vacations, or, wasting it on things, okay? So now that you have set up that contract, it's finalized with all of the provisions that you want in there, right? You've customized it for your family. Then what you want to do is you want to get it notarized, okay? So it needs to be notarized by 2 individuals, by the grantor and the trustee, okay? And it needs to be, both of those individuals need to sign in front of a notary. The notary is going to witness those signatures, put their seal on the document. That's what makes the document legal, okay? Now that the trust is legalized, what you want to do is you can begin operating it immediately. So what you want to do is you want to move on to the next phase, which is opening up that trust bank account, okay? That's the trust fund that you hear when you are hearing things related to trust, okay? So now it's time for you to open up that trust fund. And what does that look like? Well, there's 2 things that you need to bring to the bank with you. One is the certificate of trust. That is proof of identity that the actual trust exists, okay? So that is what you need to bring with you to the bank, as well as the EIN number. That is the employer identification number that you're going to get with the IRS for banking purposes. Those are the 2 things that you're going to bring with you, so that they, 1, know that it's a legal entity, and 2, that it actually exists, right? So now that you have those 2 documents, you're going to go to either any type of financial institution that offers trust accounts, meaning banks, credit unions, or brokerages, okay? And the type of accounts that you can open up is a checking account, savings account, money market account, or a cash management account, or a brokerage account, okay? And so now what you're going to do is you're going to open up that account and you're going to fund it. So usually people will fund it with the minimum. So whatever that bank's minimum is, it could be $100, $300, $500. It just depends on the institution that you choose to actually establish a trust banking relationship with, okay? So now that you've opened up that bank account, you can continue on to the next phase, which is you transferring assets into the trust. This is the most important thing. I've seen it so many times where individuals will set up trust and they'll forget to put their house into a trust, right? And then, life happens and they end up transitioning and now their family has to go to court, right? So you don't want that to happen. So you want to do the most important thing, which is transfer your assets into the trust, right? So with that being said, there's two things that you have to do. One, you have to list that property inside of the trust as trust property. And then the second thing is, let's just say that you have a house, right? So this house, a lot of people don't know that their house is a part of the public records. So that means that anybody can search and see that you're the owner. They can just do a property search in your county. So let's just say you're in Jefferson County, right? And now what they can do is they can see that you're the owner, right? So it has your name, your address, your telephone number on there, right? So the property search, they'll just put in the address and your information, or they'll put in your name and the house address shows up, right? So you want to protect yourself from that because you don't want to be what we call low-hanging fruit, right? So what you want to do is you want to transfer that property in there. So what does that look like? Well, that very well much looks like you actually redeeding that property over, you gifting it into the trust, and then that property, you have a deed to that property, right? You have what we call a warranty deed. So what you need to do is you need to redeed the property over into the name of the trust. We use a quick claim deed for that process because it's just quick, easy, and all you have to do is sign as the owner, get it notarized, and submit it down to the clerk of courts, right? So now that the new deed is at the clerk of courts, what they're going to do is they're going to record it, and they're going to update the public records to show that the trust is the new owner of that property, okay? So that is how you officially put that house into a trust, which is what you want to do because that house is not protected until you put it into a trust, you guys, okay? So let's move on to the next section where we're talking about asset protection, right? So the number one reason why you actually want to set up a trust is one, for asset protection, and the second reason is for privacy, okay? So what can a trust actually protect you from? It can protect you from bankruptcies, from divorce, from foreclosures, from heavy taxation, from lawsuit, and from probate. So first, let's touch on divorce, right? So with the divorce, what a lot of people don't know is that a divorce is a transfer of wealth, right? And so they don't know that a divorce is a transfer of wealth, but it's actually a lawsuit between two spouses, right? And so what's happening is that you have these two spouses that are, you know, now going through this lawsuit, and unfortunately, one person will end up with everything while the other person will end up with nothing, okay? And so what you want to do is, with this divorce, everything that's in your personal name is going to be included in the divorce, okay? So that means your 401k, your pension, your checking account, any properties that you might own, your vehicle, all of that stuff is going to be included, right? One second, you guys. All right, so all of that stuff is included. Now, the way that you can be protected is, one, by setting up a trust, right? Because now that trust is not you and you are not the trust, okay? Which means that if you set up a trust and then you put assets into that trust, like a house or a bank account with 6 figures in it, they cannot pull that trust into your divorce because the divorce is between the two individuals. So that house and that money is protected, right? So that's one way. Let's talk about heavy taxation because a lot of us, we are giving away half of our income, right? And so we have, we have a lot of taxes. Let's talk. A lot of us, we don't even know that the government taxes us, or the IRS taxes us when we die. So there's a death tax, there's an inheritance tax, there's a capital gains tax, then you have your federal income tax, state, county, property tax. There's so many different taxes, right? So the way that you can actually protect yourself, or trust can protect you from heavy taxation, is, let's just say that you're a W-2 income, right? Well, what can happen is you can donate up to 60% of your annual gross income to your trust. And then at that point in time, now you're only going to be taxed on 40% of your income versus 100%, right? So that's one example of many of how you can actually reduce your taxes when it comes to utilizing a trust, right? So let's move on to lawsuits, right? So let's just say, that you are a business owner, right? Because we have to understand, the first thing I want you to know is do not wait until you're getting sued in order to protect yourself from a lawsuit. A lot of us, we wait until that happens, right? Because why? We think that we're invincible. We think that we're, that nobody's going to sue us, when in all actuality, you live in the United States of America. The United States of America is a sue-friendly country. Literally, everybody wants to sue you. Your neighbor wants to sue you. Your sibling wants to sue you. Your coworker wants to sue you. Your employer wants to sue you. Your ex-business partner wants to sue you. Everybody wants to sue you. So you don't want to be what we call low-hanging fruit, right? So low-hanging fruit is when you're carrying everything in your personal name and you are, easily accessible. People are able to know what you have in the bank, how many properties you own, and what they can take from you, right? So why? Because all of that is a part of the public records. You just don't know. So with that being said, what you want to do is you want to set up a trust so that you can protect those many assets. So for example, let's just say that you are a business owner, you're an entrepreneur business owner, and you have, an LLC, right? So what does, and so somebody, they want to sue your company, right? Let's just say that you own a candle company, you delivered some candles, the person's house ended up catching on fire, right? So now your client or your customer wants to sue you, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to go after your company, right? And so you have what we call, an LLC. So does anybody know what the term LLC stands for?
Limited liability company.
Exactly. It's limited liability company. Thank you so much, right? And so you actually hear the term, in the actual name, right? Limited liability, which means that with this type of LLC, a lot of people think that, oh, my limited liability company is going to protect me if I'm out here doing business. When in all actuality, you hear it in the actual name, you have limited liability. So now my question to you is, if the company has limited liability, who do you think has the other half of that liability? So you guys can come off mute, let me know, put it in the chat, let me know.
The person who's suing you.
The person who is suing you has liability over your company?
Mm.
It's your company.
Oh,
You
okay.
have liability.
You do. You have the liability.
Exactly. It's your company. You set up the company. The company has limited liability. You have the other half of that liability. Right? And so a lot of us, we don't even think that far ahead. And so with this type of situation, right? If a client or a customer wants to sue you, right? And so they sue your business, it's easy for them to find your business and who owns it. Why? Because it's a part of the public records, you guys. So all they have to do is go down to the Secretary of State's website. They have to do a search and put in the name of your LLC, and all of your personal information comes up, meaning whoever the authorized member is, right? So your name, the address, the email, the phone number, all of that stuff easily comes up, okay? So it's easy for them to find you, or they can do the other way around as well. But now they know who to go after. Why? Because it was readily available on the Secretary of State's website, okay? So with that being said, what you want to do is, with that type of situation, you want to make it very hard for them to be able to sue you, right? But with that type of situation, right? If somebody wanted to sue you, right, that means that now they went down to the Secretary of State's website, they know who to sue, they decided to move on and continue to sue the company. Now let's just say that your company goes into litigation and you lose, right? In fact, whatever happens, there was a fire, it was caused by your candles, right? So you lose the lawsuit, right? So now what might happen? So if the company is able, your LLC, if your LLC is able to fulfill that judgment, then that's fine. But let's just say that your company is not able to fulfill that judgment. Then what might happen is the judge might decide to pierce through the corporate veil. So that is what you have when you have an LLC. You have a corporate veil that is covering you, but it's limited on things that might happen in the business, right? So the business is going to take the limited liability and you're going to take the other half, right? So now, if the judge decides to pierce through that corporate veil, what does that mean? That means that the judge can come after you personally because you're the authorized member on that LLC. If the judge decides to go after you personally, that means that they can seize your assets. They can take your house away, your car away. They can garnish your entire bank account if they wanted to. They can garnish your entire wages if you still had income that you was receiving on your social, right? And so you don't want that to happen. That is putting you in a detrimental situation as well as your family, your livelihood, right? So what you want is you want to actually have your business, your LLC, be owned by a trust, right? And so specifically a business trust, right? And so what that's going to do is that's going to be your first layer of protection between you and the actual entity. So you and the LLC. Right? And that's exactly what you want. You do not want to own your LLC directly. You want the trust to own your LLC and you manage the trust. Why? Because if somebody decides to sue your LLC, guess what? They're going to go onto the public records, which is the Secretary of State, and they're going to be able to do a search. They'll put in the name of the LLC, and whoever the authorized member is an entity. That entity is Sunrise Empire. They don't know who Sunrise Empire is. And then there's a virtual commercial address. So they don't even, that's not a place where they can just start knocking on people's door, right? So that is going to put you in a much safer position, because now what can happen is if they decide to continue to sue that LLC and the judge decides to pierce through that corporate veil, then the judge is going to go after the business trust and not you. And the business trust is going to take full liability over that LLC. That's the way that it's designed. It is designed to manage other legal entities, okay? So that's exactly what you guys want. And I'll give you a couple of more steps that you guys can take in just a few, but let's dive right back into the slides. Give me a minute. All right, guys, so that's lawsuit. So now the next thing that I want to ask you is about probate. So let's talk about probate. And my question to you is, I have another question. So my question to you, right, is let's just say that you have this big, beautiful house that you live in, right? And this house right now is in your personal name. We know that, right? If you didn't wake up tomorrow, how do you think that house is going to be transferred from your name to your children or your spouse or whoever you want to receive that property? You guys can come off mute. Let me know what you think.
No probate.
Probate.
Probate, exactly, you guys. So that is definitely what the situation is. Thank you so much for answering that question, you guys. So, hold on one second. Okay, so with that being said, you are absolutely right. It's actually going to take a judge, right, and your family going to court in order to be able to transfer that property. Why? because nobody can transfer that property. Like there's no way, you have to sign in order to get that property transferred to someone else. And so if you're no longer here and that property's in your name, now you're forcing your family to go to court. Now what's happening is you're leaving it up to a judge to be able to make the decision if your children get the property. That judge doesn't know you. That judge doesn't know your children. But because you decided not to have your affairs in order, then what happens is that's the situation that they have to go through. So let me actually break down the probate process, right? Because a lot of us, we're not familiar with it, right? We don't even know. But the way that it works is, right, a lot of people, they think that a will is good enough, right? They're like, oh, I have a will, so, you know, everything is all set up. No. A will cannot own anything. A will is just a sheet of paper, which I like to call a wish list, where you're actually putting that I want my daughter to get my house, I want my son to get my car and the cash money that I have in my bank account. It is literally a wish list, you guys, okay? Because like I said, a will cannot own anything. It's just your last will and testament, which is the last thing that you actually want to happen, right? But a will is going to end up in probate, right? And so you actually don't want that to happen because you need to understand what's happening, right? And at this point in time, what is happening is, Aaliyah. So at this point in time, what is happening is your family, they are grieving. They just lost the most important person in their life. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be dragging them through the probate process to where now they're going to be fighting to keep mom and dad's house. And they're even going to be fighting each other, unfortunately, right? And so what does that look like? Well, a lot of people, we don't know that we're going to end up with an estate anyways. So if you have property, a house, a car, cash money in the bank, whatever property that you have, whatever assets that you have, the government is going to create an estate for you. So you're going to end up with one, whether you like it or not. You can either decide to let the government create one for you when you're dead and gone, or you can create one for yourself while you're living, right? And so unfortunately, what happens is, you know, the state where we are a resident in, they will go ahead and create the John Doe estate, right? If that's your name, right? And so now that estate needs to be represented in probate court. So one, it needs to be represented by a probate attorney, and it needs to be represented in probate court, right? And so let's just say that you had a house, a car, 6 figures in the bank, right? And then you also had debt, right? You had credit card debt, student loan debt, all kind of debt, right? So the first thing that happens in the probate process is that the judge decides to pay off your liabilities. That means that the judge decides to pay off the debt, the credit card debt, the student loan debt, the nursing home bill, and the hospital bills. I don't know about you, but at the end of life, you rack up a lot of hospital bills. I was just talking to one of my clients. The state of Massachusetts took $126,000 with dealing with Medicare and Medicaid, right? From that estate. So you don't want that to happen, right? So so that's the first thing that happens. So the judge is going to decide to pay off the student loans, the credit cards, and the hospital bills, Medicare, Medicaid, everything, right? So now your estate, whatever was in there for your children, it starts to decrease. It starts to dwindle, right? And then what happens is the probate attorney needs to go ahead and get compensated. And then the probate court fees are then taken out. Whatever is left over is what your children get. Your children literally get the leftovers, and that is you doing an absolute disservice to them, because you already knew that you wanted your children to inherit your assets. But what you needed to do was to create your own estate while you're living, and to place those assets in your estate so that your children can get it, so that they can actually avoid probate. So there's only one way to avoid probate. Probate is inevitable. Everybody's going to go through it, unless you have your own trust. Unless you set up a trust and put your assets in the trust. So now, let's just say, right, and I've seen it. I have seen it to where literally the judge decides to sell mom's house, to sell dad's house in order to cover the debt that they have. You don't want that to happen. So let's just say that you decided to get your affairs in order and you set up a trust, right? So what does that look like? Well, that looks like you actually putting your assets into the trust. So now the house is owned by the trust. The car is owned by the trust. The bank account with $500,000 is owned by the trust, right? That's wonderful. So now what happens is if you transition tomorrow, your family gets to grieve in peace. That's one. Two, nothing happens because everything's going to remain intact. Why? Because your successor takes over and the house is going to remain intact in the name of the trust. The bank account with $500,000 is going to remain intact in the name of the trust. The car is going to remain intact in the name of the trust. And your debt dies with you. Those creditors cannot come after your estate. So that is the process that you want to take in order to avoid probate, one, and in order to ensure that your children receive their inheritance. That's the most important thing, because a lot of us were out here talking about building generational wealth, but whatever you're building, it doesn't even last the second generation because you don't even know that your house is being sold on the county steps, right? So you want to make sure that that house, the money, everything actually lasts the second and third generation. So let's get back to the slides, you guys, okay? We got about 2 or 3 more slides and then we're gonna dive into Q&A. All right, guys. So this is the wealth building formula, you guys. I have 3 pillars here. I have structure, credit, and invest, okay? So with structure, it's very important to be structured the right way or also to get restructured, okay? So if you are not structured the right way, you need to get restructured. Another thing is that you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. So you don't want to put all of your assets in one trust. So you're definitely going to have multiple trusts within your structure, okay? So the trusts that I recommend are a business trust, a family trust, and a tax-exempt trust, you guys. So let's talk about the first one, which is the business trust. So with the business trust, this is for business owners and entrepreneurs, okay? These are individuals that already either have a business or they want to go ahead and create a business, okay? So with this type of entity, you can use it 2 different ways. One, you can utilize it as a holding company, meaning that you're going to set up a business trust. It's going to be non-operational, which means that you are not rendering any products or services. You are not selling products and you are not providing services to society, okay, with this business trust, okay? So the only reason that this trust exists is to own other legal entities, specifically LLCs and corporations. So you're going to continue to, just like what we said earlier, right? You're going to have the business trust own the LLC, right? To be that first layer of protection, okay? The second reason or way that you can actually utilize a business trust is to create a business entity for operation, meaning that you're going to set it up like a business. So, you know, it could be a restaurant, it could be an e-com store, it could be real estate investing, whatever it is that you want, right? And you're offering products and services to the community, okay? So you can use it in those 2 different ways, okay? So let's just say you're utilizing it as a holding company, right? So that means that what you need to do is you need to remove yourself from the public records, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna do an amendment to the articles of organization for that LLC. You're going to remove yourself as the owner. You're going to add the business trust as the new owner. And now the business trust owns the LLC. Okay, the business trust has 100% liability for that LLC if anything happens, okay? So with this type of business trust, you are not going to place your personal assets in there. You're only going to use it to own the LLC, and you can also place any assets that belong to the LLC, meaning any trucks or company vehicles or equipment or any commercial vehicles or brick and mortar locations, okay? All right, guys, so so now let's just say that the LLC generates $100,000. It's a pass-through entity. That $100,000 can be moved to the business trust, okay? And so now that $100,000 has come into the business trust, and with that type of entity, I absolutely love trust, because with these types of entities, you spend the money first and you're taxed on the leftovers, right? So you're going to spend the money first on whatever your operating and administrative expenses are, and then whatever's left over is what you pay taxes on, versus how we operate personally, which is we are taxed first and we get to spend the leftovers, okay? So with that being said, $100,000 has come in. So with this type of entity, it is a for-profit entity. You do file a 1041 with the IRS, okay? So 100,000 came in, and let's just say that your operating expenses was $30,000. So now you're gonna do a tax deduction for 30,000, and you have a balance of 70,000, right? So with the 70,000, you can clearly pay taxes on it, or what you can do, which a trust can do, is you can actually distribute that 70,000 to the beneficiary, and then have the beneficiary pay taxes on it, right? So what we do is we make the beneficiary of the business trust the family trust. Why? Because if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, then that money that you are generating from your business should be flowing into your family to provide for your family, okay? So with that being said, we've decided to make the family trust the beneficiary of the business trust, and now that 70,000 goes to the family trust, okay? So now on the business trust level, you're done paying taxes because you wrote off 30 and you distributed 70, and so your tax liability becomes 0. So now we're going to move down to the family trust level. So at the family trust level, that is where all your personal assets go, okay? So meaning the house that you and your children live in, the car that you drive that's paid off, or your bank account where you have your stocks and bonds, your crypto account, your insurance policies will go in there, your 401k, all of those things will go inside of the family trust, right? You can have guns, you can have equipment, anything that you want in there that you consider an asset, okay? So now all of those assets are inside of your family trust. Anything personal that is not business related. Your children are the beneficiaries, okay? And so now the family trust has just received $70,000 in income, okay? So remember what we said, you spend the money first, you're taxed on the leftovers. So what does it cost in order to operate that family? Remember, you have a house, right? So the house has a lot of expenses. It has property taxes, it has homeowners insurance, it has maintenance, it has utilities, right? Grocery, things like that. So all of that becomes deductible, right? So let's just say that it costs, 60,000 in order to operate this family trust. So now out of the 70,000 that came in, you're going to deduct 60, and there's only 10,000 that's left. With a trust, the tax bracket, you're taxed anywhere between 10% upwards of 39%, okay? So you would be charged 10% on that $10,000. So you can very well go ahead and pay the $1,000 in taxes. Or another alternative is that you can actually donate that $10,000. So you can donate that $10,000 to your tax exempt trust, and then on the private family trust level, you're done paying taxes, okay? So your tax liability then becomes 0. So let's talk about the tax exempt trust. There's many names that we can utilize for this trust. One name is a 508c1a designated trust. You can use faith-based organization, you can use church, you can use ministry, okay? But all in all, it's a nonprofit that is used for charitable endeavors, philanthropic endeavors, or educational purposes, okay? So that was the three reasons that you would use this type of trust. This trust is automatically exempt from federal taxes, okay? Why? Because there's a mandatory exception, but there's a mandatory exception for this type of entity, meaning that there's a separation between church and state. And so because there's a separation between church and state, this type of entity doesn't have to apply to be tax exempt. It's automatically exempt as long as you're operating it this type of way, right? Because of the separation between church and state. So with that being said, you can enjoy being exempt from federal taxes. You can apply to be exempt from all other types of taxes, meaning city taxes, county taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, state taxes, and any other types of taxes, okay? So this is the type of entity that I was mentioning earlier, where you can donate up to 60% of your income, meaning that if you're a W-2 employee and you make $100,000 for the year, right, the IRS legally will allow you to donate up to $60,000 or 60% of your annual gross income, which means that now that you have donated it to your tax exempt trust, you are only taxed on 40% of your income, or $40,000. So, so that means that you're going to be you're going to be saving thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, you guys, on taxes that you can actually use somewhere else. So you can use it for other investments, to acquire other assets. You can put that money elsewhere, okay? So let's move on to credit. So with credit, right, you want to put yourself in a position to where you're using OPM. So you can qualify for nonprofit grants. You can also build business credit. So with the business trust, right, you will get an EIN with the IRS. Just like all these other businesses, meaning LLCs and corporations, those businesses build business credit off of the EIN. You can also build business credit off of the EIN of the business trust. So now that you've decided to build business credit off of the EIN, you are going to be putting yourself in a position to where you can leverage a second credit profile, right? Because a lot of us were just so heavily depending on our personal credit, right? When we can in fact use a second credit profile. And at that point in time, now, with a business trust, you can actually qualify for higher lines of credit, right? So instead of personally you being qualified for 10 or 15K, with the business trust, you can qualify for 50K, 100K, right? In lines of credit and credit cards. So that's the position that you want to put yourself in, because you might as well be building wealth off of the bank's money, off of OPM, off of other people's money versus using your own money, okay? So now let's move on to the next pillar, which is invest. So these are the two investments that I recommend. And these are assets. You got liquid asset, you have a tangible asset. So with the first one is the Index Universal Life Insurance Policy. The second one is real estate. So let's talk about the IULs. So it's short for IULs, you know, and with this type of policy, right? A lot of people think that insurance is supposed to be utilized when they are dead. But in fact, insurance is supposed to be utilized when you are living, you guys, okay? Why? Because there's so many living benefits when it comes to these type of policies. So for this specific policy, it is tax-free. So the money that you're putting inside of this policy is going to grow tax-free. It's liquid and it's protected, okay? So with this type of policy, you are you have a death benefit associated, but then you also have cash value. So cash value is a separate bucket where you're going to be accumulating cash inside of your policy that is then going to be earning compound interest, right? Which is the position that you want to put yourself in. You want to put yourself in a position to where you're earning compound interest, okay? And so that's what this does. And the beautiful thing about this policy is that it mirrors the index. So what is an index? Well, it's an index that's attached to the stock market, okay? So there's many different indices. You have the Dow Jones, you have the NASDAQ, you also have the S&P 500. So majority of these insurance carriers, they like to use the S&P 500. The S&P 500 tracks the top 500 companies in this country in the United States. So generally, the S&P 500 would do anywhere between 8 to 10%. So typically, we've been seeing that it's been doing anywhere around like 9.3%, right? So now just imagine being able to earn 9% on, you know, earn 9% interest on your cash value. So this is what happens. Whatever cash value that you have inside of your policy, the carrier is going to match that. Your money is not inside of the stock market. So this is actually a risk-free asset for you to have, okay? So you're not going to lose any money. So your money is not inside of the stock market. It just mirrors the stock market, which means that whatever the stock market is doing, whatever the S&P 500 is doing, your company is going, the company is going to match it and give you that return, okay? So let's just say you have $50,000 cash value, then what's going to happen is the carrier is going to match it and give you 9.3% return on your cash value, okay? So that's one of the main reasons why you want this type of policy, because you're going to be accumulating cash. Now, the way that you utilize it with a trust is you're going to have the trust be the owner of the policy, be the payer of the policy, as well as the beneficiary of the policy, okay? So let's move on to real estate, you guys. So with real estate, a trust can actually qualify for a mortgage. And what you want to do is you want to put the trust in position to where it is actually self-sustaining, right? It's able to sustain itself. And so with that being said, what you want to do is you want to put yourself in the position where the trust can qualify for a mortgage. So that's going to be with bank statements or with tax returns. So what we do when it comes to real estate is we'll get what we call a DSCR loan. That's a debt service coverage ratio loan. So that loan will give you, it's specifically for investment properties. It'll give you up to 80% of the purchase price. So if you can get up to 80% of the purchase price, then, you know, where are you going to get the other 20% from? Well, remember, we said OPM, other people's money. So that's what you want to do. You want to put yourself in a position to leverage the business credit that you are building with the business trust. So that means that, let's just say you're building business credit with the business trust. You qualified for a, let's just say you qualified for a line of credit or a credit card for $50,000, right? So now what you want to do is you want to use that for the down payment for real estate. But the first thing that you want to do is you want to funnel that money into your IUL policy. Why? Because when you go to strip that credit card, right, that you have $50,000 in liquid cash. What you can do is you can funnel that money into your IUL policy, and now your cash value goes up by $50,000. Remember, we said that the carrier is going to match what you put inside of your cash value. So now that your cash value goes up by $50,000, and and now you're going to earn the 9%. Let's just say you earn 9%, right? So now the carrier is going to match, you know, the stock market, the S&P 500, and give you a 9% return on that 50,000, right? But you need that 50,000 in order to put down on the real estate. So what you're going to do is you're going to request a loan from the life insurance company, right? And so that loan is going to come from the life insurance company's reserve, right? It's going to come from their own money. Your 50,000 that you just stripped from, that you just got access to, is sitting inside of your cash value, earning the compound interest, right? So now remember, this is a liquid asset. So the insurance carrier, they're going to look and see, yeah, you know, John has 50,000 inside of his cash value. We'll be able to lend him 48,000 out of the 50,000, right? So they just want, you know, to leave a little bit of cushion in there. So they'll lend you 48,000 out of the 50,000, which is good, right? So now what they're going to do is they're going to do a direct deposit back into your bank account for $48,000. But remember, your 50,000 is sitting inside of your cash value IUL, earning 9% return. Okay, so that's one beautiful thing. And that loan that you just got from the life insurance company, it does not need to be paid back. Why? Because it is automatically going to be deducted from your death benefit. So when that time comes, they're going to deduct that 50,000 from whatever your death benefit is. So now they direct deposit 48,000 into your account. You go ahead and use it as a down payment for real estate. So now you actually just acquired this rental property, this duplex, for zero down. Why? Because 80% came from the mortgage, right? The DSCR loan, and then the other 20% came from a business credit card. So you literally use 0% of your own money. So you just now have acquired this investment zero down, and now it's cash flowing, right? So now this investment is making money, right? And this house is owned by the trust, right? So now the trust is generating cash flow. So let's just say that this investment property is earning, you know, $3,000 a month, right? Well, what is the first thing that you're going to do with that $3,000 a month? The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to funnel it into your IUL policy, you guys, right? So that 3,000 is going to go right into your IUL policy. And now your cash value went up by the 3,000. You're going to borrow it back out. So let's just say you borrow out, you know, back out 2,800, and then you're going to be able to pay the mortgage company and the business credit card, right? And so that is the cycle that you want to go in, because now you're putting yourself in a position to where you're going to pay yourself first. Because instead of you paying the mortgage company first, instead of you paying, you know, the utilities first, or any of those other things that you normally do, what you're going to do is you're going to funnel that money into your IUL, borrow it back out, and then pay those other companies second, okay? So that takes a mindset shift so that you're able to put yourself in a position to build wealth efficiently, build wealth effectively, okay? So let's keep going on. So now I want you to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. And I'm going to say it again. Put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. That is what we define as stewardship. That is where you're a good steward of your wealth. You're directing the wealth. You're making sure that the wealth, you know, actually lasts the many generations that it needs to last, okay? So right now what you're doing is you're operating in ownership. That means that you're so proud to be the owner of this house, right? You're so proud to be the owner of that bank account. But you have to understand that that house is going to outlive you, right? Because if you didn't wake up tomorrow, guess what? That house is still going to be there. So what you actually want is not ownership, but what you want is control over the house while you're living. And so that's what you get when you set up a trust and you have the trust be the owner of the house. Because now you're the trustee and you're the controller of the house. That trust is still going to be there when you transition. That house is still going to be there when you transition. So that's the way that you want to set it up if you're really intentional about building generational wealth. So how do you transfer your wealth? Because a lot of people, I don't see nobody walking around asking themselves, how am I going to transfer my wealth? You're just so focused on making the money. Right? And so we've subscribed to whatever society wants for us, which is we've subscribed to working 40 hours a week for 40 years and retiring when we're 65 and depending on our pension or Social Security. And we go and get into these 30-year mortgages and buy what is known as our biggest assets, right? But we always remain in the rat race. We always remain on that hamster wheel. And so it's going to take a mindset shift in order to get you out of that situation. And so you got to do things differently, which is taking that mindset shift to know I can't be the owner of my assets anymore. I can't be the owner of the cash money that I have in the bank. What I need to do is I need to set up a trust, have the trust be the owner, and have me control everything. So you need to start asking yourself, how can I protect my assets or my wealth? How can I preserve my assets or my wealth? How can I transfer my assets or my wealth? Right? So that's what you want. You want to operate in stewardship instead of ownership. So let's move on to the next one, which is TCUs. What does TCU stand for? Trust Certificate Units. So you know how companies have stock certificates and the stock certificates represent ownership in the company? Well, TCUs or trust certificates represent beneficial interest in a trust. So if you set up a trust, your trust is going to have 100 TCUs. You are then going to distribute those TCUs to your beneficiaries. Let's just say that you have 4 kids. You want it to be equal. You're going to distribute 25 TCUs per child. So now what happens is they have beneficial interest. So they're going to be receiving distributions, right? If you decide that they get it, right? And if the trust is terminated, all those assets that are inside of the trust are going to go to those beneficiaries. And you can decide who gets what. And you can also, decide when. So with that being said, with a trust, right, 100% of the TCUs represents 100% of the net worth. So if I am one of your beneficiaries and you gave me 25 TCUs, that means I have 25% of beneficial interest. So if the trust it has a net worth of $1 million, that means my beneficial interest is equivalent to $250,000. So let's move on to preservation, you guys. Why? Because it's so important. So why is it that we see athletes, celebrities, famous families, actors, actresses, people like that, right? Why is it that we see that their wealth, they either blow it in their lifetime or it doesn't even last the second or third generation? Like literally their kids blow it. So why is it that happens to where the money disappears, right? And that's because they didn't have the tools in place. So when it comes to preserving your wealth, there's 2 tools that you need. The first one is a trust. The second one is the life insurance policy, specifically cash value life insurance policies, okay? It's super duper duper important. So one, you're gonna set up a trust. Now that trust has people associated with the trust, right? The trust has trustees and the trust also has beneficiaries, okay? So what happens is the trust has a lot of assets. The trust has tangible assets like a house. The trust has, liquid cash, cash money. But the trust also has human assets, which is the trustees and the beneficiaries. Those are considered human assets or what we call human capital. So you have to understand that you, as the trustee, you're the most important person in the trust. So if anything were to happen to you, the trust is absolutely devastated. And the trust needs to be compensated for that loss. So this is why the trust takes out insurance on every single asset. So for the house, you got homeowners insurance. For the car, you got automobile insurance. For the cash in the bank, you got the FDIC, right? So for the trustees and the beneficiaries, you have life insurance. Because if you didn't wake up tomorrow, that trust is devastated. That trust needs to be compensated. So what happens is the death benefit, let's just say your death benefit is $3 million. That $3 million goes straight to the trust fund. And now the trust is replenished. And that's exactly what you want. So when it comes to preservation of wealth, one, you need a trust. Two, you need the trust to take out a policy on every single individual that's associated with the trust, meaning the trustees, all the beneficiaries, and all the future beneficiaries. That is what we call trust fund babies. So that is what we need to normalize in our community. We need to normalize trust fund babies. Why? Because it's an absolute beautiful thing. So what happens is the trust is going to be the owner of the policy. The trust is going to pay the premiums every single month. The trust is going to be the beneficiary of all those policies. The trust is going to take out a policy on the trustee, on the beneficiaries, and on every single future beneficiary that is born into the trust. So if you have a baby that is born into the trust, that is a trust fund baby. And as soon as that baby turns 30 days old, the trust is going to take out a policy on that baby. Now the trust is going to be paying $100 a month into that policy. And that's going to start building the cash value that's going to be compounding. That's why it's such a beautiful thing to be a trust fund baby. So now let's just say that this trust fund baby, fast forward into the future, turns 18 years old. What do they need when they're 18? They're going off to college. So they got tuition, they got books, a bunch of fees, housing, and they need their first car. So normally what this trust fund baby can do is they can go down to the dealership, pull their credit, get into a high interest vehicle loan with the dealership, buy this car for $30,000 and start paying the dealership $1,000 a month. Or instead of doing that whole entire process, what they can do is they can go to the trust and they can request a loan for $30,000 so that they can buy their first vehicle. And so the trustee of the trust is going to hand them a promissory note and write them a check for $30,000. So now the beneficiary takes the money and goes buys their car cash. And instead of them having to pay the dealership, now what they're going to do is they're going to pay the trust because they took out a loan. So they're going to pay the trust $300 a month. So that's a beautiful process, right? So now let's say, that the beneficiary decides to default, right? Let's just say that the beneficiary is like, well, I don't want to pay this $300 a month anymore to the trust. Well, that's completely fine. Because the loan was a risk-free loan. Why? Because the loan, that $30,000 did not come from the trust fund. That $30,000 came from the trust fund baby's life insurance policy. So what occurred was the trustee contacted the carrier. The minute that beneficiary asked for the $30,000, the trustee contacted the carrier and requested a loan, using the cash value as collateral for $30,000. So the carrier, looked at the cash value and saw all the accumulation, and they issued out a $30,000 loan. So they did a direct deposit into the trust fund for the $30,000, but those funds were the life insurance company's reserves. It was from their money, not from the cash value, right? And so that loan doesn't need to be paid back because it's deducted from the death benefit. So that's why it became a risk-free loan, because now when that trust fund baby transitions, their $5 million death benefit is going to go straight to the trust fund. Right? So it's going to be minus that $30,000, and whatever's left is going straight to the trust fund. And so you're going to do this entire process with every single person involved in the trust. That is how you're going to preserve the wealth. That is how you're going to transfer the wealth from generation to generation to generation. It takes a mindset shift. The way that you've been doing things, the way that you've been operating in ownership, you have to transition. And now you have to operate in stewardship and actually protect the wealth. That generational wealth that you keep talking about, right now, you're not building generational wealth if you don't have a trust, right? All you're doing is making money. A lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, I make 6 figures, I'm building generational wealth. No, you're not. You are just making money and spending it, right? You're buying assets, but you're not protecting it. Anybody can take it at any point in time. So you want to do things the right way, you guys. And that's why I recommend that you definitely have a trust and you definitely have the cash value life insurance policies. All right, so these are the books that I recommend. What Would the Rockefellers Do? That's a really good book that teaches you guys about the marriage between trust and life insurance. The next one is The Art of Passing the Buck, Volume 1 and 2, which teaches you guys about trusteeship. The next one is Family Wealth, which teaches you guys how to operate your family like a business. That's what everybody needs to be doing. You need to be the CEO of your family, you guys. And we call it a family office. And then the last one is The Complete Book of Trust, which teaches you guys about the different types of trust, you guys, okay? So next is I want you to take action on the information that I provided you guys with tonight. I'm going to show you a quick little video of a trustee that took action on the information that I provided.
Well, kudos to you all. Again, Christina, it's been a wonderful experience. I've been looking at your videos on YouTube for a while. And, there are a number of people offering trust these days. And, I guess that's the big thing, don't own anything, control everything. That kind of, I didn't say it correctly, but that is the sentiment. And so it seems like the playing field is being leveled now from the rich and people who weren't privy to this information. So thank you for being such a great asset to a community that didn't have this information. And you made it so simple. Thank you for the recordings. Thank you for the step-by-step instructions. Things that we can go back and look at. So we do appreciate you. And thank you, Mondo. That was a great explanation of infinite banking. I know a number of people are talking about that, but they make it so complex. And his presentation was nice and succinct and very informative. So this has been an overall great experience. I definitely will recommend you to others.
All right, wonderful. So that's why it's so important for you to take action on the information, because a trust could be your new form of actually doing business, you guys, and making profit. It could solve a lot of your problems dealing with heavy taxes, with divorces, with lawsuits, with probate, all of that stuff, okay? It can actually help you protect your assets and preserve your wealth and actually transfer your wealth the right way. That's what you guys are not thinking about. So what you want to do is you want to treat this like a big business. You want to treat your family, your organization, and everything like it's a Google, a Facebook, an Amazon, not like it's some little small mom and pop shop, because that's not what you're doing, right? If you're talking about generational wealth, then that means that the legacy and the foundation that you're setting right now is going to last, decades. It's going to last hundreds of years. It's going to last 10, 15 generations. But you gotta set that solid foundation now, right? So let's work together, you guys. I do have a program teaching you guys step by step on how to build this infrastructure. So you have 3 different options here. The first option is do it yourself. With do it yourself, it is pretty much where you are independently learning this information. So inside of the online course, right, you get 43 video modules. So you get the actual videos that's going to teach you step by step on how to set up the trust. Now, this program comes with 3 different types of trust. It comes with the 3 trusts that I told you guys about earlier. It comes with a business trust, it comes with a family trust, and it comes with a nonprofit tax exempt trust, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to watch the videos, and then you're going to be able to customize the trust contracts exactly for your business, for your family, and for your nonprofit, okay? You do get lifetime access to the videos. You do get access to the ebooks. The ebooks are the books that I just mentioned in the previous slides, okay? And then you get all the resources that you need in order to operate a trust efficiently and effectively, meaning you get tax documents. If you want to have a meeting for your trust, right? If you want to transfer your house into the trust, your car into the trust, if you want to do the insurance, we have all the resources and all the templates that you need in order to make all of that happen, right? But the program also comes with a private Facebook community, right? So our community is 700 plus trustees, and you get to network with these like-minded individuals that are sometimes in the same city and state where you are. They've already done what you needed to do, and you get to bounce ideas off of them, and they can serve as a resource for you, okay? So that's our private Facebook community. And then we also have a Telegram chat. Inside of our Telegram chat, you literally pick up your phone and you're able to chat back and forth with myself, my team, as well as the hundreds of other people inside of the community, you guys, okay? So the course is only $997. Now, you have the second option. The second option is done with you. That means that we do it together. And it is a group Zoom call, and you get 5 of them. So it's done Monday through Friday. It's a workshop style setting. So we're going to meet Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? On Monday, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on actually setting up the business trust, okay? So what I do is, since we're live, I pull up the business trust. I break down every single paragraph of the business trust. The business trust is 51 pages, you guys. So it's very important for me to be super thorough and break everything down so that you feel comfortable and empowered to, to know that you actually understand the contents of the trust, and yes, I can actually operate this type of entity, okay? So I break down every single paragraph. I show you guys how to actually set it up, and then we dive into Q&A. On Tuesday, we set up the family trust together. So I break down every paragraph. We customize everything. We dive into Q&A. On Wednesday, we do the same thing for the tax exempt trust. So we break down every single paragraph. We customize it for our, whatever charity that we're going to be running. And then from there, we dive into Q&A. And then I show you guys how to become ordained ministers if that's what you want to do with that, for that type of trust. On Thursday, we focus on getting the EINs with the IRS. We focus on having our board meetings. So I show you guys how to have board meetings for the trust, how to, we go step by step, where I show you how to open up a bank account for the trust. And then we actually have a guest speaker who comes in and educates you guys on business credit and business funding so that you can get the money that you need for the trust. You do not want to pour in your W-2 income, right? You want to use OPM. You want to use the bank's money. So that's why it's super important that you learn this information. And I have a guest speaker with over 10 years of experience that helps people generate or helps people get millions of dollars in funding, okay? So he comes in and teaches you step by step. And then the last day of the workshop, which is Friday, we focus on transferring assets. So I show you how to fill out a quick claim deed so that you can deed over your property into the trust, and how to record it with the county recorder's office. Then I show you how to do a bill of sale with your vehicle and how to submit it to the DMV. Then I show you how to do a business purchase agreement so that you can put your LLCs and your corporations in the trust, so that you're no longer liable for those companies. And then the last thing is I have our infinite banking specialist who comes in and teaches you guys about how to actually build wealth and eliminate debt with the cash value life insurance policies, and how to mirror it with the trust to where the trust is the owner, the payer, and the beneficiary. So with that being said, the next workshop is December 2nd to the 6th. So it's the week after Thanksgiving. So it's coming up shortly. And you still get access to the course, you guys. You still get access to the Facebook community, the Telegram chat, but you get that sense of comfort to know that, one, you're getting your answers, the answers to your questions right away. So this is a really good environment for you to be in, because other people are asking questions that you didn't even want to know that you wanted to know. So that's why the group setting is 100% valuable. So the workshop is only $2,500, you guys, okay? And the last option is do it one-on-one, where you want to do private sessions. So it's going to be private sessions with me. So it's just me and you on Zoom. So it's a minimum of 5 Zoom calls. Sometimes we might have to do more, just depending on how many assets you have. So usually it's for people who have multiple businesses, multiple assets, or who don't have the time to do it themselves, and don't have the time to attend the workshops. So you do get individualized support and extended support. So we'll support you for, however long you need until you get up and running. We do focus on you acquiring more assets for the trust. So, but you still get access to the workshops and the course as well. But you get that sense of security to know that your trusts are being set up the right way. Because after we're done, I'll print them out for you, notarize them, ship them to you. So with that being said, the private sessions are only $10,000. And what you can do is you can go to our website, wealthytrustee.com, so that you can enroll into any one of the programs that you feel is the best fit for you, okay? So for the people who are on this call, what I want to do is I want to offer 20% off in the next 48 hours. So in the next 48 hours, you guys can enjoy 20% off using the discount code TRUST20. So all you have to do is go to our website, wealthytrustee.com, and sign up. So what I want to do is show you guys what the actual trust looks like and what the course looks like. So you can contact us here. So this is our business line. You can call it or text it. Here is the website, wealthytrustee.com. And then you can also email us if you have any questions, and visit us on social media. So now what I want to do is I want to show you what the actual course looks like. So this is what the course looks like. Remember I told you it's 43 video lessons. So this is what you get when you sign up for the course. So the first thing after the introduction is trust entity, where you learn what a trust entity is. So you learn what a trust is, you learn who are the different parties involved, the grantor, trustee, beneficiaries, successors, protectors, the benefits of the trust, the different types of trust. Then you learn how to set up the 508c1a tax exempt trust and how to apply for the EINs. Then you learn how to set up the family trust. So you go through the declaration, the bylaws, you learn the step-by-steps on how to get it up and running. And then you learn the same thing with the business trust. And then you learn about tax strategies so that you can apply for tax exemption. And then you learn about asset protection. So you take an inventory of your assets, and then you go ahead and learn how to open up a bank account, a brokerage account, how to transfer your house, your cars, your insurance policies, your companies, how to do board meetings. So we show you how to operate the trust the right way. And then we go into wealth creation, where we teach you how to build business credit with the trust, and as well as how to invest in the stock market, specifically getting index funds. And then we teach you how to actually invest and do the infinite banking with the insurance. And then the last thing that we show you is the resources and the ebooks that you guys might need. So what I want to do is I want to show you what an actual trust looks like. So this here is one of the trust templates that we have, and everything that you see in red is what you actually fill out, you guys, okay? So this is what you're going to be customizing. So if you can see here, everything that you see in red is what, she is so loud, I'm so sorry, guys. So everything that you see in red is what you're going to be customizing. Hold on, let me close my door. Talia. All right, guys. So anyways, that is it. So I want to go ahead and open up the floor for any Q&A. So sorry that my kids are loud. I'm about to put them to bed. Somebody said can't hear her at all. She's adorable. Oh, you couldn't hear her? She is loud. She is extremely loud, but that's okay. So I want to open up the floor for Q&A, you guys, so that I can answer any and all questions that you guys might have. So thank you so much for being here this evening, for staying throughout the entire presentation. And if you have any questions on the presentation or the program or anything, I would love to answer any and all questions that you guys might have. So I see the first hand that I see is Mona.
Hi, how are you? I love your hair. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Mona. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, my question is, okay, so I know that you help us with the business, the charity, and the family, right? But say when you put your business into the business, right? But that business also accepts charity or donations, right? How should you have the charity in the business name? I mean, what's confusing me is the name part, and or should it go into the business trust and then also then again turn around go into the charity for the taxation purposes? Like, I just need to understand, like, if the business is taking, if you put the business in the business, right? And then, but it takes charity money, how you divide it. You know what I mean? Like, how do you make it function correctly? Do you expose the name of the charity name, you know, or I think that's it. I'm gonna try. That's all I have to say. Let's see how you understood what I said.
Okay, yeah. So it's a loaded question, and what I would tell you is that you can donate to your nonprofit organization from any entity. So if you have an LLC, you can donate from the LLC. So the LLC can donate up to 25% of its income to the nonprofit. And then if you have the business trust inside of the LLC, you can still donate from the business trust as well. That's a separate entity from the LLC. So you can process another donation from the business trust to the tax exempt nonprofit, and it'll also be up to 25%. So on the personal side, you can do up to 60. For an entity, you can do up to 25%, but it could be per entity. It's not It doesn't restrict you if one entity is inside of the other entity.
Okay, so because then I was getting confused. I'm like, okay, well, do you say if I named it Big Bird, right? Do I
Yeah, so
have
you want
to
to give them, all separate names. You want to give
right?
them all separate names. They can't just use one name for all entities.
And don't expose it on the business that like you giving charity to Big Bird. You don't want no one to know about Big Bird. Big Bird is secret, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the only
Okay.
way that for documentation purposes, you're going to have a donation receipt.
Okay. All right. I
Okay.
think that was my biggest challenge. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mona. All right, next we have Adarsh.
Oh, hi. Yeah, my question is around, a trust is very anonymous, right? And nor it's registered anywhere and so on. So how do you avoid fraud in case of trust ownership? Because somebody who just knows the trust name and a little bit of the information can literally go and, with access to a computer and stuff, create a trust document and say that, hey, I am the owner of this trust, right? And this is the operating agreement and all those things they can, put together. So how do you avoid such? Because what I'm saying is that a business or a thing is registered somewhere, you can go see a name and so on, right? But here, how do you avoid such? This kind of how do you avoid such fraud and how do you protect?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. The thing is, so one, it's the same thing with if I have the same name as you, right? So I can clearly say, hey, I am the owner of this, right? Because I have the same name as you. But what distinguishes you and I is our social security, right? We have different social security, we have different date of birth. So the trust also has identification as well. The trust also has a 9-digit number that's associated with it. And it has also, paperwork associated with that asset too. So for example, if you are saying that the trust is the owner of this house, no one can deed over that property if they don't have the deed to that property, right? The trust is the one who has the deed to that property. So you have paperwork involved, right? Which is actually these legal instruments or certificates of, title or deeds. And then you also have the identification of the trust, right? Which is the EIN numbers.
No, I understand the EIN number and that this for tax purpose and so on, right? I mean, if you have a property and it's say a land trust, right, and that's very easily hackable. Somebody can come and present themselves as the owner of the land trust, provide a trust document, and claim that, and
But they don't
you
have
would
the
only.
deed. But they don't have the deed. So what is it
That's
that,
true.
how are they
Yeah,
gonna,
okay.
how far can they get
I mean,
without the actual?
I've sold properties, right, um, and in the past it was in my name and so on, but I never had to produce the original deed, right? They just send some documents you sign to write off your rights to the new owner, and that's how transactions have been done. I've sold like 2 properties in the last 1 year, did 1031 exchanges, and I never had to go produce the original deed, right? The closing company handled all of that. So
Why do you think that you didn't have to produce the original deed?
because it was in my name and they could verify it easily, right? It
Because it's
wasn't in
on
a
the,
trust name.
because it's on
Hmm?
the public records.
Yeah, exactly, right. So they will see a public record and it will say XYZ trust. So somebody else can go and say that they are the XYZ trust and they are the trustee, and they can cook up a document very easily and sign off and present it, right?
So if you have a deed that's on the public records that's showing the trust name, you have a signature that's associated, you have the trustee's name that's associated with it. So when it comes to you operating the trust, the trustee is the one who's the authorized signatory or signer, and they're the ones who have to also produce ID. So you have to produce a certificate of trust, right, for that specific entity, plus the trustee that is associated with that trust that, you know, can visibly be seen on the deed or the public records, or, you know, wherever these assets are registered, their information, you know, is there as well.
I've heard some lawyers say that if you're holding in a land trust, you also go, you know, open some other LLC entity and put like a lien on this, so you get you get notified if somebody's trying to hack and do this behind the scenes. I was just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so deed fraud happens all the time. So I'm not saying that it's not possible. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. It depends on the county too. So like in other specific counties, they will make you sign an ownership transfer form just for them to verify that you are the owner, right? But fraud can happen any day and every day. So I'm not, you know, speaking against that.
Yeah, but this is most this will yeah. I think what I'm trying to struggle is that in your name, everything is the chances of fraud can happen, but the chance of them getting away would be less. But in this case, the chances of them getting away with the fraud, and you probably will come to know after the property has been transacted and sold. You know, so that I'm just trying to understand, how do you protect yourself from there, from such a setup?
Yeah, so I mean, so honestly, like you're the individual that has the trust documents, but yes, you're right, it is not registered. It's supposed to remain private, and it's supposed to remain with the trustee, and the trustee is the one who's supposed to produce, you know, the proof that they are the ones associated with the trust. So
Yeah, okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
you're welcome. All right, next we have Nicole. I don't know if it's Nicole. I see a K.
Oh, I spelled my name wrong. It is Nicole.
Oh, okay, awesome. Hey, Nicole.
I put a K instead of an L. Wow, I didn't even see that. Hi, how are you? Thank you so
I'm
much
great.
for doing this call. Yes, you do look beautiful. Your hair really does look pretty with those braids.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It does. My question is, okay, so I have my existing LLC. So that has an EIN number. So you transfer that to a business trust, which also has an EIN number. So
Correct.
so
Yeah,
you would move, so you could
go ahead.
change that existing business account, bank account, to a business trust account to hold those monies. How does that happen?
That's a good question. So there are two separate entities. So every single entity needs its own EIN. So, you know, business one cannot use the EIN for business two. Okay, business one needs its own EIN, or LLC one needs its own EIN, and then the trust needs its own EIN. And the money is going to be, you know, held separately. So you're going to continue to operate the LLC, and it's going to continue to generate the money that it's been generating by providing the products and services that it's been providing. And those funds are going to continue to go into that bank account associated with that LLC. And so it's up to the business trust to then be able to own or manage that LLC, but the LLC is going to remain intact, fully operational.
So how do you pass the funds from the business trust to the family trust to the tax exempt trust, so you're not being taxed or being minimally taxed on that income from that LLC bank account?
So what the LLC is, a pass-through entity. So just like how you would do it normally, to where you are passing those funds to you as the owner, is the same way. So if you do wire transfers, if you do ZELLE payments, you're going to do it the same way. So now that you have an account with the business trust, you're going to ZELLE the business trust. You're going to do a wire transfer from the LLC to the business trust, and then from the business trust to the family trust.
And then, so how are you making those deductions? So you're only putting certain percentages in each account until you get to the third, to the charitable, to the tax exempt account?
Say that again. How are you
how,
doing
so
deduction?
yeah, deductions, because you
So
initially said,
it's based on the specific entity. So
Mhm.
meaning that whatever the operating expenses were for that specific entity. So your business trust is going to have different operating expenses than your family trust. So it's very important for you not to commingle and for you to have proper record keeping and bookkeeping so that you know what to account for per entity.
Okay, okay. So is there a certain, so the business trust, say you're a day trader, so would that be a business trust or some type of fund?
So so you can operate that under a business trust. It's an investment. So you can operate it under a business trust.
Okay, okay. And then my second question was for the do it with you and the one-on-one, are there payment plans for that, or it's just upfront?
So there are payment plan options available. So we have set payment plan options, which you'll see on our website. So for the do-it-yourself course, we charge three payments of $359. For the workshop, we charge 5 payments of $549. So you can go through the website and automatically sign up for that. Or if those payment plan options don't work for you, then we will. So if those payment plan options don't work for you, then we can do a custom payment plan for you. So just let us know. You can reach out via email or phone and let us know that you need a custom payment plan.
Oh, okay. So maybe I should reach out by email, because I'm thinking maybe I should get the courses, at least trying to understand this so that I'm not wasting time on a one-on-one with trying to be educated.
Okay. You can
And
always, so you can enroll in any one that fits you. And then if you feel like you want to upgrade, so if you start with a DIY course, you feel like it's the best option for you. And then later you want to upgrade to the workshop or private sessions, you can do that.
Oh, okay, okay. So, okay. So, are you doing the with the one-on-one? Is that you're doing the actual trust, or you have an actual team that assists you in doing this?
Yeah, I have a team.
Yeah, okay. Because my husband and I were working with someone. It was a nightmare. I really appreciate this call. It was so informed and detailed and thorough, and you're taking your time with us, and we actually paid for something, and it's just been a mess. So
I'm sorry about your experience, your previous experience.
yeah, it's been a mess. Okay, thank you so much. That was my question. Those were my
You're
questions. Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome, Nicole. Thank you so much for being here. Next, we have Jason. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, it's fine. It's either Jason, JCN, however you pronounce it.
Oh, Jason. Okay, all right, Jason.
Either way, it don't matter. Nice to meet you over the Zoom, that is.
Yes, nice to
Um,
meet you.
and I emailed you back on the Forex deal. But
Mhm.
also, I got a question about you. I heard you mention something about the funding of your business trust, and you could get funded. Does that funding reflect back on your personal credit? Like, do they check your personal credit to fund your business credit? Because I know sometimes they reflect, or certain things or businesses reflect back on that. Because I'm in the process now of working on my personal credit. It's just been hectic, nonetheless. So I wanted
Yes,
to.
absolutely. So when it comes to the okay, so thank you for emailing me back. So I'll get back to you in regards
Okay.
to the Works Fund. So the second thing is about the business credit. So you can set up your business credit two ways. It depends on you. You can set it up to where you're solely using the EIN, and the way that you do that is very strategic and different. So what you would do is you would get your DUNS number with Dun and Bradstreet, and then you'll go ahead and open up net 30 accounts with different with different companies that will report trade lines onto your credit, right? So
Right.
you're to create a credit profile, and these companies are gonna provide you with net 30 accounts. So it could be net 10s, net 15s, net 20s, net 30s, right? And so these are what we call
Right.
account receivables. And so what you're going to be doing is setting up these net 30 accounts, which is not going to require you to do a cosign or use your personal credit or your personal credit, your social security, things like that. With some of
Right.
these companies, they are going to require you to put a security deposit down just because you're not co-signing. But that is how you're able to generate the paydex score without being able to leverage your personal credit. So that's how you would do it if you wanted to do it that way, which is the slow route. So it'll take you probably 6 months to build up a credit profile. On the contrary to that, you have the short route, which is like 30, 60 days. And that's where you use yourself as a cosigner, and it's going to require you to leverage your personal credit profile.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm in the process of building up my credit again because we had some family crisis going on. Anyways, but thank you so much. I did have another question, but I got thrown off guard and I don't remember what it was. But thank you
You're
very
so
much.
welcome. You're welcome, Jason. Thank you. All right,
Okay.
next we have Giles. Am I saying your name correctly?
Gilles Henry.
Okay. I
Gilles is the first name.
Jill?
Gilles. It's French.
Gilles. Okay, all right.
My parents are from Haiti.
Gilles. My parents are from Haiti too.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yes.
Actually, Nicole asked my question about the LLC and the business trust, but I did have another question. Um, the oh, I bought the do-it-yourself program on the 27th. I think I went through everything by the
Yay.
31st. I started following the video as I was filling in, changing the red to my information. My question is, some of the videos I was watching, the words you were reading off are different from what was in the PDF. In the trust I was changing my information. Is that the most up to date, the ones I'm changing now, than what's on the video?
Correct. Yeah, we added some things. So it's particularly the family trust and the FBO. So we added more provisions in there.
Okay. And then if there are things that if there are provisions that I do not want or I want to change slightly, can I just change those to what I want to be worded?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
you customize it, you make any changes that you need to or that you want to, and if you feel like it's not applicable for your family, you can delete it.
Okay. And then just to make sure I have the way it's supposed to be. So I have an LLC in Wyoming already. I had it done like about 6 months ago. So my business trust would be the owner of that LLC. And then I'll use that LLC to do business as in whatever state I want to do it in, right?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say in whatever state you do it in. So with the way that LLCs work is you can only operate that LLC in the state that you set it up in.
Okay.
So if you want to, for example, if you are doing real estate or something and you set up a Wyoming LLC, but you want to do real estate in Texas, you have to register that Wyoming LLC as a foreign entity in Texas.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that I understand. Okay. And then funds pass through the business from the business to the business trust, then pay my private trust, and then could do donations to my faith-based organization. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now my other question is, for a family trust, if I wanted to do a different trust to put my cars in or do a gun trust, I just do a separate one instead of putting everything in the private trust.
Yeah,
do
instead
that.
of putting all of your personal assets into one family trust, just think that you need multiple trusts. And so you would
Right.
just make a separate trust specifically for your gun, a separate trust specifically for your car.
Okay. All right. It's been, this program has been very informational. I actually, from the day that I bought it, I've been watching their YouTube videos, and a lot of information on there. And I'm going to look into the Forex program that you have going. So
All
yeah.
right, awesome. That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm glad that you're having a wonderful experience. It really puts a smile on my face. And the Forex fund is very, very, very profitable. So it's a really good fund to be a part of. It's called Pay Yourself First. And that fund, we are making double-digit returns every single month. So let me just talk about it a little bit, and then I'll also drop the link to it if anybody's interested. So when it comes to the foreign exchange market and being a day trader, you guys need to have the capacity and have the skills to trade, right? But a lot of people, they don't have that, they don't have the skills, or they don't want to learn. And so the only way to invest in the foreign exchange market, which is $1 trillion market, right? $6.6 trillion is being traded on this market every single day, right? So it's up to you to get a little piece of the pie. So with that being said, the only way to invest in this market passively is by having a PAM account. So the word PAM stands for percentage allocation money management. And so the way that it works is you have a master account that is being traded by the trader, right? Because the trader doesn't have the capacity to be able to trade your account, my account, and thousands of other people's account independently. So the trader can only trade one account, but we're all attached to the master account. So what we do is we set up a brokerage, we open up our PAM account, we fund it with at least $1,000, and then we attach to the master. And then the trader does his thing and he trades the master account. Okay. So we're actually going to have a master class tomorrow where the trader is going to come in and educate you guys. So I will invite everyone who's on here. He's going to be educating on the foreign exchange market so that you guys can get a better understanding of where the market is heading, get a little bit familiar with crypto and everything like that. Okay, so you guys are formally invited. It's going to be tomorrow around the same time. So it should be, I think it's either 6 or 7 o'clock, but you will receive a text message invitation. But anyway, so the trader only can trade the one master account, but your PAM account is attached. So that means that your account mirrors the master account. Every single trade that the master account gets into, your trade gets into your account, your PAM account gets into those trades too. And it's just based on the percentage that you have allocated inside of the master account. So with our fund, it's called Pay Yourself First. Since inception, so in the last 3 months, we've generated over 70% in profit. So just imagine being able to make double-digit returns consistently and 100% passively. This is one of those set it and forget it type things. So once you fund your account and attach it, you can, forget it. There's nothing that you have to do unless you're ready to withdraw money. So you can go ahead, log in, you can see, the activity, meaning you can view the trades. And you can see, what your profit was and stuff like that. The brokerage that I'm working with, we have been with them for over 5 years. They're trustworthy. They are overseas, so they're not based in the United States. Our trader is based here in the United States, but the brokerage is overseas, and we use MetaTrader 4 as our trading platform. So the last thing that I want to tell you guys about is that there is a performance fee, meaning that the trader needs to get paid, right? For being able to do this, allowing us to leverage them and their skill set. And so the performance fee is 40%, meaning that it's a 60-40 split. The investor, which is you keep 60% of your profit, and the trader keeps 40%, right? the trader and the trading team, right? So that means that if you generated $100 in profit today, then you keep 60 of it, and the brokerage will automatically deduct $40 and send it to the trader. So that's how that works. And everything is done automatically. There's nothing that you have to do. The brokerage handles everything. So it's, you know, it's completely, you know, your money is safe, and it's, you know, the market is risky. So that's why we only tell you guys to start with, you know, $1,000 or whatever you want to start with, because you don't want to be trading with money that, you know, you can't afford to lose. Okay. So the way that I always tell people is put in your $1,000, and once you see that your account has doubled, pull out your initial investment, right? So usually it'll take like 3 to 4 months for your account to double. Pull out your initial investment, and now you only have profit left in there, right? So now you only have $1,000 that's left in there that you're now trading with. So now your money is making money for you, and it becomes a risk-free investment for you because you pulled out your initial investment. So that's the way that I tell investors to do it. So if you guys are interested, I'm going to go ahead and put the link inside of the chat, okay? But that's one of the investments that I have available for people, generally in my community, because the thing that I love about this brokerage is that you can open up your brokerage account under the name of your trust, which will put you in a position to where it, you know, if you have these capital gains, as long as you have it in a trust fund, then as long as you keep it there, it doesn't trigger a taxable event. So just keep that in mind when it comes to you earning compound interest and building wealth, you guys, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to continue on with Q&A so that we can adjourn our webinar tonight. So the next person I have is Harry.
Yes, I was asking, do the trades happen simultaneously, or is there any lag time?
Do the trades happen simultaneously?
Yes.
Oh,
So
yeah, no, there's no lag time. So the thing is that with the master account, all of your, so it's like a pool, right? You're pooling your funds together, right? So everything is simultaneous because your money is the money that's being traded. So that's why you get to see the available trades on your account. It's not like a copy trading thing where there's a lag time or anything like that. So for example, the master account, you know, let's just say, for example, it has 100,000 in there. 1,000 of that 100,000 that's in the master account is yours. So that money is being traded right now, right here, right now. So it's all, you know, instant.
okay. So the next question is, the ideal structure is the business, family, then the ministry. So let's say that you're not ready to do the business and you just move forward with the private family trust and the ministry. How difficult is it to move it from that family trust to an international trust? Or will it just be a separate trust all along with a different trust where you're just transferring the assets out of that trust?
So it's a totally different entity, different trust, and you're transferring assets from one trust to the next trust.
Okay. So does it really matter if you utilize it with the public EIN or the 98 number?
So that just depends on you. So the public EIN number, you know, the grantor is giving their personal information. With the private EIN number, they're not giving their personal information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next we have Jay Bogan.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, my question concerns I have a family trust that's been set up for a while, but I do not have the business trust set up. But after hearing you speak, made a lot of sense. So once I get ready to move in that direction, will there be any special steps that I need to take to connect the two?
So if you can email me or you can call the business line, I'll be able to get back to you. So I'll email you back. Because those emails go straight to me. The ones that are info at the number 7waystowealth.com, they go straight to me. So if
Okay.
you ever want to get in contact with me, that would be the best way to go. And then if not that way, then you can just call the community line that you see on the screen or text it. So my assistant will give you a response or I'll answer.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks for giving out this information, man. You enlightened me a lot, so keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate that. I appreciate you being here and understanding the value of this information because it's much needed.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. Next we have Eugenio.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. How are you?
Oh, great. Yes, this is Eugenio.
Yes, Eugenio, ¿cómo estás?
Yes, ¿cómo estás? Bien. The question we have is that there's a deposit, a easy pay direct invoice to payment. Do you do the $200 payment to hold the discount?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for asking that question. That works for me. So if you do not want to pay in full, meaning that you're not able to pay in full, then you can put a deposit down. So some people don't have all of the money available right now, but they want to secure their spot and they want to be able to hold the discount for the 20%. So if you don't have all the funds available at the moment, but you want to secure your spot, and then you can pay the balance off later, then go ahead and click on the deposit link. But if you click on the deposit link, you're not going to have access to the course until you're paid in full. So if you know that you are able to afford the course or the workshop, then go for it and pay in full so that you can get full access right away. And that also brings me to the payment plans. So you do not get access to the course or the workshops until you're paid in full. So that means that you have to complete your last payment if you're enrolled into the payment plan in order to get access to the course material.
All right, perfect. I just have one quick second question.
Yes, sir.
With the Forex, is that something that you can withdraw your funds monthly?
Yeah, you can do them daily too, whenever. So the only thing that we ask you is do not withdraw your funds when you have an open trade on your account. So that's the way we set it up because that can put your account at risk to where it can trigger the I forgot what it's called, like a margin call on your account, and then you can potentially suffer a loss because you decided to pull your money out while your money was still being invested in an open trade. So once that trade closes, so our day trader, he doesn't really he's like in and out of the market and in the same day. It's very rare that he will hold a trade from one day to the next. It does happen from time to time, just depending on the nature of the market. But generally, he's in and out on the same day. So that's why I'm saying, as long as there's no open trades, you pull your money out whenever you want.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for being here. All right, next we have Ernest.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, we just thank you for all your education that you've given us.
You're so welcome. It's my absolute pleasure.
Yes, yes. My question is, 401k, how does that work? You have any information on how that works?
Yes. So with the 401k, As long as you are still with that employer, the 401k is going to be personally owned by you, and then you can have your trust be the beneficiary of the 401k. Some people, if they're no longer with that employer, then they'll roll over their 401k into a Roth, and that Roth can be owned by the trust.
Okay, so I think this person has he's still with his employer.
Okay, so he can only make the trust a beneficiary per your employer and the nature of that type of account. It has to remain in their personal name.
Okay. All right, that's the only question I had. Thank you again.
You are so welcome, Mr. Ernest. Thank you for being here this evening. I appreciate it. Next we have Arshia. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, it's
Oh,
Arshia.
how are you? Arshia, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing well.
Thank you so much for all the amazing information you gave, and the way you're actually explaining it as well. You get it straight to the point, so we can understand it clearly. I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much. Thank you. I appreciate you being here and just being able to grasp the information and those kind words. I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Yes, I actually saw one of your interviews that you said that you're doing it for the God and the price was given to you by the God, and I can see it actually in you when you're presenting it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, this is my God-given mission, and I'm just here doing it every single day.
It's amazing. I have a couple of questions about the program and a couple of questions about the trust.
Okay.
The one that we do it with you, with the workshop, you said it's on December 2nd?
Yes, it's December 2nd to the 6th. It's the week after Thanksgiving. So usually we'll do it the last week of the month, but because the last week of this month falls in, a holiday where people are usually off and with family, we pushed it to the week after. So that is when it is, December 2nd to the 6th.
Okay. I wish I could have done that because I want to set up an irrevocable trust as soon as possible. So there's
Okay.
November, you don't have any workshop, right?
No workshops. We just did one last week. So usually it's every 4 weeks.
Okay, got it. No problem. And so I go through the do it myself. And on the do it myself, do I learn? I mean, do you teach how to set up an LLC as well, or?
No, we don't teach how to set up an LLC. We just teach you how to set up the trust and how to amend your LLC to put your business trust in the LLC. So put your LLC in the business trust. So we teach you how to do the amendments through the Secretary of State if you already have one.
Okay, got it.
So we do have a vault, and you'll see it on there. It's one of the options. No, so it's like an upsell, or it's inside of the funnel. So there is we are going to offer you access to the vault, and in the vault it has 100 videos, and in those videos we teach you how to set up a business and an LLC.
Okay, got it.
But it's not inside of the program, so it's just a different offer.
Oh, it's a different, okay, got it. So like a different program.
It's a different program. Yeah. So you'll see it like once you enroll. One of the offers, if you want to take advantage of it, is to get access to the vault.
Okay, got it. And the questions we have about the course, doing it ourselves, we ask them on the Facebook group or you said Telegram chat.
Yeah, and then we also do have live Q&A sessions. So we'll do the live Q&A sessions every 2 weeks. And we'll do Tuesdays at 6.
Okay, great.
So the next one will be next Tuesday at 6.
Okay, that's awesome. And the questions I have about the trust is somebody said in order to be able to set up the bank account for the trust, we need to be the grantor and the trustee ourselves.
So that is for a revocable trust. So for an irrevocable trust, you do not. And when you go and open up a bank account, they are going to ask you who the grantor is, but the grantor does not need to be present, and they're just going to be dealing directly with the trustee. So meaning you're the one who's going to go to the bank, you're going to provide the trust documents, you're going to provide your ID, just showing and proving that you're the trustee, and you'll be able to open up the account independently without any grantors.
Okay, great. And my last question is, so I recently got introduced to this concept that our all capital name is actually a corporation, that we're actually operating in the commerce world with it, which I didn't know. I don't think many people knew. But can we set the business trust? Can we put our name, our capital name, capital letter name in the business trust and operate it that way?
That is a strategy that some people decide to use, where they'll set up a trust and they'll use their all caps name.
Okay.
So yes.
Possible. Okay. Do you recommend to make an LLC for our all cap name and then put it on the business trust, or just directly put it on the business trust?
I would tell anybody and everybody to create a trust with their all caps name if they wanted to go down that route versus an LLC.
Okay. Okay, got it. So separate trust beside the business trust, another separate trust just for
Right. That one is specialized for whatever you're going to, use it for. So some people would like to use the all caps name trust to replace themselves.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. All right. Next we have J.W. Lewis.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for the information. I think you may have answered my question, but the Forex account, PAM account can be added to the trust. Is that correct?
Yes, you can create that name. You can set up that account in the name of the trust. So it can be, that brokerage account can be owned by your trust.
Okay. Second question, the business trust that holds LLCs, the bank accounts for the LLCs, do they need to be in the business trust or they stay with the business?
They have to stay with the business. So you need to keep everything related to the business intact. So that means that you need to, hold on, baby. Okay, I see it, mama. So that means that you need to be able to, not commingle funds. So continue to operate your LLC as you've been doing. So keep those accounts intact, open, and the flow of money, how you've been getting it with your products or services, continue to go there.
And then you said if you were to send money to the business trust, just do like an invoice or a ZELLE or something to send the money from the business bank account to the business trust, right?
Right. So however you would normally transfer funds to a person or entity. So I wouldn't say invoice, I would say wire transfer, ZELLE, or any other way that you're able to transfer funds.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
All right, thank you. All right, Adarsh. Do you have another question?
Yeah, thanks for taking my second question. So in an irrevocable trust, you have a grantor and a trustee, right? So if I am setting up an irrevocable trust, and I should find some other person to be a grantor, like my mom to be a grantor of that trust, but then once it's set up as a trustee, can I contribute assets into that trust?
Yes, so it's inside of the trust provisions, which we call trustee powers, where the trustee can add assets to the trust.
Okay, but the grantor cannot give any of their assets into the trust, correct?
The grantor can add assets, but they
Okay,
they have no power, no control, so they won't be able to take those assets back. So
Mhm.
those assets are going to be fully under the control of the trustee.
Okay, so if I want to put my trust, if I want to put my assets in an irrevocable trust and control it, I have to find a different grantor, and then me as a trustee would still be able to put my assets in that trust, although I'm not a grantor.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, that's a tricky part. And can the beneficiary of that irrevocable trust be another trust which I control?
Yes, a beneficiary can be a trust or any entity like an LLC corporation or a natural person.
And you can control that trust then? That entity? That... I'm just trying to understand. Okay, as a trustee, anyway, you have control. So, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a separate entity. So you are not the trust, and the trust is not you.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Next, we have Nicole.
Nicole.
Hello. Hello, you
Yes.
can hear me?
Hold on. We have Nicole.
You can hear
Nicole
me?
D.
You can
Nicole
hear
D.
me?
Yes. Give me one moment. Yes.
Is it Nicole D you were calling?
Yes.
Yeah, I was asking a second question.
Yes.
So someone in the comments had asked about the fencing. They don't know how to raise their hand, but the fencing reporting part for the beneficial operator information. And if we have a trust, I guess an irrevocable business trust, and your LLC is in, the business trust is the owner of the LLC, do you still have to report that information, your trust information?
You do. Yeah. So you
Oh, you
still,
do.
so LLCs are required to report. So you still have to report, and you still have to put whoever the beneficial owner of the LLC is.
So then there's no real privacy with your trust if you have to.
So you're putting the trust name, the name is visible, that's correct. So the privacy is the contents of your trust, right? So you are making the name visible or known.
Okay, so you still have to report that information. So the trust is not really protecting you from reporting that information.
No, so you have to report if you are operating that type of entity, which is an LLC or a corporation. It's not just because that entity is owned by a trust doesn't prevent you from having to do the BOI. So if you are operating a trust, you don't have to do the BOI. If you're operating a nonprofit, you don't have to do the BOI. It depends on the entity that you're operating.
Okay, so you have to figure out how you're structuring yourself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then with the Forex, you said workshop tomorrow. You'll send us an email for that invite?
Yes, I'm gonna send it out via text and email for the masterclass. Our trader, he's gonna come in live and he's gonna educate you guys on Forex, and he's gonna talk about crypto as well.
Okay, and then the last one with the discount is the discount just for the one-on-one? What was the discount for again? The 20%?
The discount is a 20% discount on the program. So if you sign up for DIY, then you get 20% off. If you sign up for the workshop, you get 20% off. If you sign up for one-on-one private sessions with me, you get the 20% off. So whichever program you decide to move forward with.
Is there a code for that we put in?
Yes, ma'am. It's Trust 20.
Trust. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You are so welcome. All right. Next, we have Anthony Young. Anthony Young, do you still have a question? All right, next we have Kenneth. Hi, Kenneth. You're on mute, I can't hear you.
I apologize. Hello.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for the info. By the way, wow, just incredible. Thank you.
You are so welcome. It's my absolute pleasure, I promise.
So I'm gonna just give you a little rundown. I'm attempting to set up like a private, irrevocable foreign grantor express trust, if that's a thing, um, out of Taiwan. I got the foreign virtual address online, and I'm preparing to call the IRS and set up the trust properly. I heard that you mentioned tonight that you don't want to make yourself the grantor in that situation, and I was just wondering like who should I elect? And moving forward, I already have my PO box set up. Like, and I'm from New Jersey, so I got my PO box set up, and I'm trying to I got the virtual address, the foreign virtual address. I'm just trying to set everything up perfectly and align myself to do this correctly before I make the phone call to the IRS and set it up, and get the EINs and everything. I was just wondering if I was on the right track and who exactly I should, appoint as the grantor or guarantor, if not myself.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So because you're setting up an irrevocable trust, you can't serve both positions. So you cannot serve as the grantor and you cannot serve as the trustee. So you do have to choose someone else. Sorry, baby. You're gonna be okay, mama. Okay, give me a minute. So you're gonna have to choose someone else to be your grantor. So first thing I would tell you is to anyone can be your grantor, meaning it could be family or it could be someone who's a non-relative. So I would tell you first to choose a non-relative, so like a friend or a coworker or neighbor or somebody who's able to actually notarize the trust with you. And then your second option would be family. But whoever you're choosing as your grantor, they're going to be locked out of your trust. So just don't choose someone that you want to benefit from your trust. So some people, they choose their kids or their parents or their siblings that they know they want them to directly benefit. So, but other than that, yeah, just make sure that you choose someone different.
Okay. Well, I think that's about it for now. If anything, I'll follow up, if anything, but I do appreciate your time and all your help.
You are so welcome. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next we have Nicole H.
Yes. Hi, how you doing?
I'm great, Nicole. I can hear you now. How are you, my dear?
Well, I was wanted to ask a question about I'm I'm a inventor and I wanted to know how can I protect my invention by throwing it in a trust so nobody won't be able to copy it and produce it before I put it out.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like what you're talking about needs to be copywritten and trademark. So what this invention is. I think that you should go that route first before you actually try to put it into a trust.
So it's trademark, it's built and
Okay,
everything.
you already got the trademark. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I just wanted to put it in a trust.
Okay,
So
yeah. So you can put that intellectual property or that asset into the trust.
and then will it be like I just want to make sure it's protected because I don't want nobody else to basically like take it and like so my
So
like my
is this like a physical thing? Is it like a
yeah,
physical, is a tangible asset?
yes, tangible.
Okay, so if the tangible asset is under the trust and it's protected under the trust,
It'll be safe, basically.
the tangible asset, if it's protected, if it's placed under the trust, is going to be protected under the trust. So I'm not sure what direction you're trying to go in. Because I know you said it's an invention. I'm not sure if you have any intellectual property associated with this tangible asset. So there's a lot of
No.
things to consider. But like I said, go down the right route of publicly doing the copyright and the trademark, and then you can have that owned by a trust. That is an asset. So what you are describing is an asset.
Oh, okay. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right, next we have Mona. Mona,
Oh,
are
I
you?
was running. No way, I'm here. Yeah, I was running to it. Okay. The question is, shoot, what was my question? The question is, oh shoot, tag. If there's more people, I'll come back again. I forgot.
Okay, next we have Andrea.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm good. So I wanted to know a little bit more about the infinite banking speaker because I was told that I think his name is Marcus or Marvin or something with an M. I can't remember. And I don't know what day that you provide access to him and his information, but I would love to learn more about infinite banking. So if you could share that, that would be fantastic. Thanks.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome. So we do it on day 5 of the workshop. So the speaker, her name is Miss Pierre, and she's with True Legacy Trust Group, True Legacy Insurance Group. And so she comes in and she teaches about infinite banking, the cash value life insurance policies, IULs, and whole lives, and debt elimination, and how to build wealth with the policies. So she does her presentations once a month. So I'm not sure if you're planning on attending the next workshop. If not, then her information is on the chat. It should be in the chat, and you can book a call with her to speak to her. So let me see if it's in the chat. I thought it was in the chat. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm gonna post it again. And if you want to speak with her directly, which is something that I advise, just because she's able to, be more hands-on and provide you with information that's specifically tailored to you. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her information in the chat, and I highly recommend you book a call with her. All right, thank you. Next we have Abdullah. And then we have 2 more people after. We have Kyla and Mona, and then I'm going to adjourn the meeting for tonight. My kids are waiting for me to put them to bed. So Abdullah, do you have a question?
Yes.
Abdul?
Good evening. I thank
Hello,
you.
how are you?
I'm doing good. I'll give your children a big hug for being patient.
Okay, thank you. I surely will.
That's important. That's
Yes,
important.
sir.
Cherish them because this is all about our children and build our legacy. That's what it's all about.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. My question is that I just want clarification that if one sign up for the $9.99 package, right? Do it as you want. Do it yourself. Then they want to go and do with you the second package. The 43
Yeah.
video, does the 43 videos come with do it with you? Come with it or don't? Does it?
Yes, it does. Yes, the course comes with the workshop. Yes. So you get the course, and then you also get the workshop. So we do it live together. And then after the workshop, you'll book a one-on-one call with me, and I'll review all of your documentation to ensure that everything was done correctly before you notarize your trust and open up your bank accounts.
Okay, I guess tomorrow morning I'll be signing up for the $9.99. If I get into it more involved, I'll sign up for the December Thanksgiving.
Yes, that'll be perfect. Okay, so yeah, sign up for the course, and then if you want to attend the workshop, just send us an email or a text message that you want to upgrade, and then we'll be able to give you access.
Okay, I'll go sign up for the $9.99 right when I get off the phone.
Okay. Well, I'm super excited. So congratulations, and thank you for taking this leap of faith and getting your affairs in order so that you can ensure that legacy. All right. Next we have Kyla, or is it Keela?
Hi, it's Kyla.
Hi, Kyla.
My question is, does the trust name have to be in the trust?
You do have to put the name in the trust contract.
And what is a good name for the trust?
You should use names that are not your name. So you can use any name that you want. So usually people use like legacy, dynasty, things like that. They can use holdings, they can use, anything. Rainbow, sunshine, whatever they feel led to use. So just put yourself in a position to where you think about your passion, your inspiration, and choose a unique name.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mona, you're the last person that we have here.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, the question I have is that when you go to do the EINs, it starts with the grantor. And I know that when you do the trust, the grantor drops off, but what can they do, or what powers, or what would I need them for in any kind of way if they the one that have to be the beginning of the EIN?
So that's what it's required. So I'm really trying to get clarity on your question. So the IRS is going to request the grantor's information and the trustee's information on the EIN application. So there's no way to get around it. So you want to choose someone that is able to actually get the EIN for you. Are you there?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, the question is, would you need them anywhere down the line? Being that they,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So you only need them in the beginning so the two things that they have to do is actually sign or notarize the trust and apply for the EIN. That's all you need them for.
Okay, that's it. And then once that number is set, they don't get that number. It's not their number. They can't be like, well, I'm the one that started the EIN with that number. That's my EIN. They can't come and do any crazy stuff, right?
It belongs to the trust.
Okay. Okay. All right. What's my second question? Is that it? I can wait till another time I meet with you again. I'll write it down next time. But that was
Okay,
my
wonderful.
question. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and put my trust fund babies to sleep. But I just want to empower you guys and tell you guys that take action on the information that I provided you guys with tonight, because it could change the trajectory of your family, you guys. Okay, because now your children or your children's children, you're going to be training them to be trustees and to be, to be the future and to continue the legacy. So with that being said, you guys have a beautiful and amazing evening, and God bless you guys. And I will see you guys on the next call. So just don't forget, we do have a masterclass tomorrow. It is free for you guys to attend. And the masterclass is going to be on Forex trading and cryptocurrency. So I will see you guys tomorrow here on Zoom. Have a blessed and amazing evening.
you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys. God bless you.